All right. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending from where you're coming from. Welcome to today's podcast. And today we have an incredible episodes for all of you. We are going to talk about a new subject and definitely very intriguing and very exciting. And by the way, for who doesn't know me, my name is Daniele Lattanzi. I am the CEO and co-founder of Holistic Health Solutions and Effective Practice Management, two companies dedicated to helping practitioners and practice owners to expand and to help their community through a holistic way to bring a solution to their community and their patients. Today, I have with me an incredible speaker and great friend. I have Dr. Shayne Morris. Hello, Shayne. How are you today?
Doing well. Glad to be here.
Awesome. And today's subject of podcast is the Holobiome Roadmap, a new clinical model for cellular health, which is super intriguing and super exciting. And first of all, before to dive into the subject, Shayne, so for who doesn't know you, you want to spend a couple of minutes telling about yourself, and you are the CEO and one of the founder of Systemic Formula, or co-founder, I guess, and
Yeah.
also you have also a separate company that is working in tandem with Systemic Formula, which is Alimentum Labs. So can you tell people watching like a little about you, Systemic Formula, and the Alimentum Labs, so that they know more about what you guys do?
So to begin with, yes, Systemic Formulas is our company, and the Alimentum Labs is actually a brand within Systemic Formulas now. We've merged the two. We do have a separate research company called Microbiome, which is where most of our research comes from. That we won't get into that today, but that's kind of the exciting frontiers of what we're going to kind of touch on. The fact that, we've been around a very long time. We're over 40 years old,
Wow.
and my grandfather founded it back in the 80s. And so, we've built upon this model of wellness that's now, of course, being received very well by the world. But back in the 80s, it was kind of a new concept to really target your health, target your nutritional profile. And then that's evolved now into what we call this holobiome, which is the combination of the human health, all of our cells, all of our organs and our tissues and energies. And now we overlay that with what we call the microbiome. And that's really
Right.
why we brought the Alimentum Labs piece into Systemic, is because that's the piece that incorporates our own genetics, our own cellular behavior, and its relationship with this microbiological ecology that lives in us. And that's really where, well, the amazing things we want to reverse all of these, really challenging epidemics with chronic disease and chronic illness. And really what we're facing globally is the microbiome is a central piece to that, because it was also one of the things that was destroyed by bad choices over the last 60 years.
Right.
The body's quite resilient, but your microbes are pretty sensitive. And so we're bringing back the microbiome. And that's kind of the new challenge. It really entails understanding what the microbiome does, understanding what it means to us. It's not simply just a digestive organ. It dictates cognitive, mental behavior. It dictates how the skin behaves. It controls our immune system. It controls all of our endocrine system. It allows us to navigate the world. And when we don't have a healthy microbiome, we get very sick very easily. It's an important aspect. That's kind of the journey from, the early days where we've incorporated traditional medicine, which we still do, herbs, nutrients, and then we've overlaid that with our knowledge of our cellular, genetic, and now the microbiome. And that's kind of the big picture.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, in a way, you kind of already answered it, but just I want to dive more into this subject, right? Because you basically are in the forefront frontier of this subject now. So, with that in mind, so what is that holobiome means, and what does look like, and also for anyone so we can make a distinction, what's the difference between the holobiome versus the microbiome, because people start to get all confused with
Yeah,
those terms.
lots of biome words, indeed.
Yes.
And they're catching on. Years ago when we would teach on the microbiome back in 2009 and 10, no one really knew what the microbiome was. And now look at it, right? Everybody has really jumped onto that circus of microbiome without having done a lot of the research. So we have been doing this for a very long time. We were doing microbiome research beginning back in 2009. We're proud of that. What we haven't been doing is telling our story as well. However, we're now doing that, and we're doing that better. The holobiome is the next level. So what the holobiome means is if you take the human biome, which is us and all of our cellular capacity, and then you take the microbes and all of their
Hmm.
capacity combined, it's called a holobiome. It's been used oftentimes in environmental sciences. There's a holobiome of a coral reef, of an Amazon, of a desert. There's a holobiome that surrounds each and every animal and each and every ecosystem. So it's this combination of ecosystems. And when you think of your own body, you have a number of ecosystems. You have your internal ecosystem, you have your GI, your skin, your urogenital. Each and every one of these is an ecosystem that all work together. And there's microbes in all these places that help do some of that work for you. So the holobiome encompasses that. And the reason it's a term that we want to catch on and kind of convey a message is that a healthy ecosystem requires a holobiome approach. Again, if we take a coral reef as an example, if you remove certain organisms from a coral reef, the coral reef dies,
Right.
even if it's one or two organisms. And that's true for humans. If you start removing certain things from our holobiome, we don't feel well. We start to lose our ability and our fitness and our ability to thrive. And that's the idea of this holobiome. We need a lot of this ecosystem to be built up again, like we used to have, in order to thrive. And that's the concept of a holobiome. You reintroduce those organisms in a coral reef, the coral reef makes a comeback and it's thriving and healthy. And there are many examples of that we can give for our own human microbiome. When we add back certain things, the types of foods, the types of organisms, we rebuild our ecosystems. And our brain is better, our heart is better, our lungs are better, our kids are born healthier, and so on.
That's great. Yeah, that makes total sense. So like it is sort of rebuilding or reintroductions of those missing elements. So that therefore each person is obviously they are their own universe. So like what that's supposed to mean, and then figuring out, okay, so each individual person, how's their holobiome, what do they have, what they're missing, and work out the plan of attack, I guess.
Yeah, so from a practitioner standpoint, and to make it more practical, we built the Holobiome Roadmap truly around a concept of as long as we've been doing the work with people looking at their various microbiological, genetic, and other nutrient deficiencies. And mind you that we all have these. If you live in most industrialized nations, we're missing microbes, we're missing part of our microbiome. We have the impact of stress and that on our genetics. A lot of the toxins have impacted us immensely. Our food, how our food has changed over the last few decades, probably since the 60s, the development of plastic and, fast food and highly
Yeah.
processed food. This has all had a really detrimental impact. So from a practitioner standpoint, we see over and over again missing microbes. We have to rebuild our microbiome. We have to rebuild our ability to detoxify and manage nutrients properly. And we have to bring more of these herbal and basic nutrients back into our routine. Therefore, the Holobiome Roadmap was born out of that knowledge that we weren't just trying to bring new information. We were also trying to let people know that we're in a place where we have to rebuild what we've lost. And so the Holobiome Roadmap differs from most traditional approaches to, for example, let's say detoxification.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody understands the concept. Clinicians utilize the concept of detoxifying their patients. And generally speaking, for most detox systems, it's not a personalized roadmap. It's actually just a general roadmap of let's try to trap and get rid of heavy metals, other organic toxins, like let's call them pesticides, PCBs, etc. And then
Mhm.
let's try to bring in nutrients to rebuild, the tissue. And clearly that's been going on for many years. A lot of companies have introduced these products for decades. And yet the outcome of the patients has not improved dramatically over that period of time, nor has our overall health and wellness and fitness. So
Right.
when you look at this, we would look more closely at what we're actually missing, what needs to be brought back, and what are the mechanisms, right? So we used a lot of science,
Hmm.
well beyond this today's podcast, but this science allows us to say, wait a second, we're missing an important piece. And that important piece is understanding personally what humans' genetics background looks like. How do we bring back nutrients that are important to our genetic profile? That's personalizing it in a way, and we do that in the Holobiome Roadmap. And then probably even more personal is this idea of bringing back microbes that we're missing. And no matter
Right.
where you look, academically, looking at, global research studies on microbiome studies, we're missing a lot of organisms, and we bring those organisms to the table. So we have a group of organisms we call next generation probiotics. And among
Wow.
those are these keystone organisms. And what we've learned is that in order to bring them back, you not only have to take them as a probiotic, a next gen probiotic, but you have to feed them with the proper, what we call prebiotics. These become
Yeah.
the food for our microbes, and they're not simply just fiber. So when clinicians try to wrap their mind around this idea of more fiber, yes, more fiber is good, but there are very particular other kinds of plant compounds that drive up the robustness of our microbiome. And these are found in the Holobiome Roadmap.
Wow. That's a very exciting, very intriguing and exciting at the same
Yeah,
time.
intriguing. And it is a personalized, way more personalized than any other program out there. You can't get these keystone organisms anywhere else either.
Hmm.
We've spent 15 years procuring them, so they're not available through any other program through
Yeah.
ours. They are patented, they are protected, and they have a lot of research that we're going to just start to begin publishing for people. And then finally, this journey, one thing that has been a really exciting outcome that we didn't enter into it is it turns out that your microbiome is one of the key elements of detoxification. So when you
Right.
think of heavy metals, when you think of man-made chemicals, plasticizers, various plastics, herbicides, pesticides, glyphosate, one of the greatest contributions of your microbiome is to eliminate toxins. And that's a discussion that clinicians need to understand and utilize through this Holobiome roadmap because every other detox program has not recognized or been able to recognize and utilize the microbiome as your main protector against detox or toxins. In order to properly detoxify, your microbiome has to be in a really healthy place. Otherwise, it just becomes a labor of repeatedness for your liver, and your liver is going to struggle over and over again.
Right. Yeah. Also, like I'm online a lot and I see a lot of different things always being promoted that you run into these situations or scenario where there is this latest trend, but like you were saying, regardless of how good it is, you don't have that sort of ideal like scenario that somebody can get to when it comes
No.
to their own personal health. And I believe that you're making a very important point of what we're missing here, so
Yeah, and that's a big differentiator for us because I mean, the microbiome, including that in our journey of building out this roadmap, and it's actually just beginning. The amount of research coming out showing that microbes are capable of removing heavy metals, removing plastics even, protecting your bile, which becomes overly concentrated in plastics. And this is happening to all of us. This isn't a person that works in a plastic factory. Plastic is being found in every bloodstream, in brains post-mortem, in testes, in ovaries, in the gut. So this is something that your microbiome, when it's healthy, mind you, not when it's broken, is working for you to protect you. And when it is unhealthy, it actually works against you. So as a practitioner, the reason why we are so excited about the Holobiome Roadmap is because no matter what modality you use, whether it's muscle testing, blood labs, genetics, microbiome testing, which we all embrace and love, by the way,
Yeah.
uh, this is a journey that we want to put everybody on initially because it's a journey that allows everything that we know is going wrong. It allows for the body to make these transitions from, toxins, dysbiosis of the microbiome, and the shortcomings of nutrition, the shortcomings of cellular respiration, mitochondria, and so on. The roadmap sets you up to improve every phase of this, and which is why it's broken down into phases. That allows the practitioner then to really dig into any other particular issue they might be concerned about, like cognitive decline or lipid dysfunction and so on. The roadmap sets you up to do it properly and not have that be a temporary solution by putting somebody on a protocol that helps lower blood lipids, LDL
Hmm.
and VLDL. That's going to return as soon as they're off of that. We need to rebuild this from a
Right.
much greater depth, and that's what the whole biome roadmap does. Brings back microbes, brings back important nutrients for our own genetics, and it does it through a really simple phase system. And our upcoming workshop kind of breaks that down for people. It teaches them on each of the phases, gives them the background as a clinician to understand why we're doing it and how we're doing it. And then, of course, how do you apply that in a business sense? Whether you're, again, a different modality, we want to we want every modality to look at this as the initial step, whether it be muscle testing, blood labs, etc., because that's going to change the trajectory for their patient and bring them to a place where even any challenging thing that comes up can be dealt with way more efficiently and permanently. You can permanently
Right.
reverse your microbiome. So that's the tools that we're going to be introducing at the roadmap. And then there's the business aspect. Everybody needs this. This is not a complicated system when you're introducing it properly. It's self-contained. You don't
Yeah.
have to have 300 bottles on your desk. You pull a sachet in the morning, they tear it open, they take those 5 capsules in the evening, they do it again, and that's for the first 30 days. The second 30 days, there's a new box, and you repeat that process of getting all of these diverse nutrients across the course of the entire phase system. And it's so simple. Any practitioners can get their patients on this and start making a
Nice.
difference in their lives. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wow. You have covered a lot and actually covered a lot of requests that I already have for you, but which is totally fine. Just a question in relation to all of this. This is a roadmap. It's not just a simple, okay, do this technique and so forth, right? When it's a practitioner would be using this approach, right, to try to reduce inflammations or specific things, right? Can you give us some example of things that have you seen personally of the difference from practitioners that have started using this system, using the roadmap versus a traditional practitioners that maybe they just use one specific modality as like the comparison of it too.
Yeah. Let me try to explain that. So one of the impetuses for having a roadmap and having it built out in a system. Generally speaking, as a practitioner, you're going to be confronted with, a range of issues that come into the office. And even through muscle testing or through blood labs, you're going to see potential cardiovascular issues. You might have pathogens. Someone might be dealing with a bacterial mold, parasitic, some other toxic event. They may be having to deal with fatigue, headaches, um, maybe endocrine disruption, where a young woman or someone going through menopause, it's painful, it's stressful, it's not responding to traditional protocols. It doesn't mean that we won't get to those protocols. What this system does is it looks at the core, the foundational ingredients missing from their journey, and we introduce the roadmap for the practitioner to easily, get their patient on and say, let's begin with clearing out the system. Let's begin with an initial step
Mm-hmm.
of improving the lymph, improving the immune. or reducing pathogens, reducing organisms that are disrupting our ability to manage our hormones, manage our blood lipids. Now, mind you, there is a dietary component, and we do have tools now that the team has built where we make dietary recommendations. We have a document for patients to follow, to give them guidance regarding their lifestyle and their health choices, especially food, right? These are essential components to this. But it's so fundamental to go through this process because over the years, and we've seen tens of thousands of patients through our doctors, right, where okay, we've done this. We're seeing a little bit of improvement in inflammation. The skin rashes are slightly disappearing. And then 2 weeks later, they get back with us and say, okay, now what do I do? They're back. The
Yeah.
inflammation's back. The constipation's back. The brain fog is back. The fatigue, they don't want to get out of bed. Their motivation's low. This roller coaster cycle is because we're not addressing from beginning to end all the systems that need help. And the roadmap does that. It starts with cleaning our GI, setting up our GI for a whole brand new group of organisms. And what that means to us, though, is it's not just digestive. Again, I want to remind you that by setting up your GI for this brand new journey and bringing back all of the needed nutrients and microbes and the foods that feed them, prebiotics, immediately we're improving our immune system. We're improving cravings. So people that were using a high processed diet, they're going to start craving things differently with these on this roadmap. They're going to start noticing that they don't have as much edema. Their swelling is going to start going down. Their bowel movements are going to start to become more regular. Their clarity, some people get, their vision gets a little bit better. Their smells. We're setting that up to bring back. And then if we have a particular critical issue with the microbiome moving in the right direction, with the nutrients hitting all the cells properly, with the absorption, the bioavailability. Now, when we want to target something after the roadmap, our success rate's going to go up, multiple fold at that point. So it really is because of the way our body is built. We impact the immune system, we impact the neuroendocrine system, we impact the hormones. We've used this program for women that are infertile. We've used this for men that are struggling with hormone, women's. We've used this for many cognitive addictive behaviors. And of course, certainly the IBS, IBD, and all of these types of conditions that are directly related to the gut. But even systemically, as you go through this journey, you're creating all of these benefits that then allow the practitioner to really dive in following the roadmap or even during the roadmap and clinically target the things that they were very concerned about. Because remember, early in the roadmap, we're also getting rid of pathogens and getting rid of insults, mold,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these things that are disrupting us. So
Right.
that's what we see. We see it as a core starting point for most patients coming in for practitioners.
That's great.
It's an easy program to.
That's awesome. That's yeah, definitely is. I can see how this is under one roof, but the whole complete, like you said, journey that a practitioner can do with their clients and their patients. So, which is amazing. Now, I wanted to thank you, everyone that are with us right now, and also say a shout out to Carmen, Isis, Patrick, Paula, Tambi, and many more people that are here. There is a question from the chat. Somebody is asking, does you were talking about some of the things they need to take as a part of their protocol. Does it have L-Reuteri as a component?
So did they L-glutarate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a couple of products that glutarate in them. And if you look at this, so the one thing that I will not have time for, but we certainly have the tools for all of your attendees to dive into on our website that goes into all details. But when you think of, I wish I had a box here to show you. I'm sorry I didn't bring a box,
Oh,
but
no, that's okay.
there's hundreds of ingredients because this whole journey, the roadmap, covers, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 formulas. And they're made simple by the sachets. And hopefully
Yeah.
you can envision what a sachet is. And in each and every one of those sachets, we have a very well-researched and the combination provides at that stage what people need. And I guess the one caveat would be that clinically, you might have a more sensitive person or a more robust person or somebody that's
Yeah.
they have their inherent ability to manage a problem is greater or lesser. And you can also change throughout this roadmap the dosing if you want, right? You can actually, if someone is super sensitive and their system is a mess, you just cut the dosing. You take the sachet every other day. It elongates the program, or
Yeah.
you can condense the program if you see that someone really needs to get after it. But all of these ingredients, and there, like I said, there's many, many ingredients that I can't talk about. But
Yeah.
yes, they're all there. And some are very unique and some are, more standardized. But the
Great.
reason
That's
I love the
awesome.
roadmap and I use it on myself and my family is because it places all that for you and you don't have to do the thinking. You don't have
Mm,
to go after your methylation vitamins or the glutarates and the important killers in the gut, for wiping out viruses and parasites and mold. They're already there in Clear 1 and Clear 2. They're in the sachet. So the journey becomes kind of controlled for you, and the practitioner can just kind of guide it from their perspective to get you through there because there's a step for all of these various ingredients to take effect in their proper month. And again, that's
that's
why we love this roadmap is because, someone might go through, I really need to get rid of parasites. They'll take this protocol that gets rid of parasites, but they didn't consider what keeps the parasites away next time because
right.
exposure is always an issue. Exposure to parasites, exposure to mold, exposure to plastics. These are ongoing issues. These are not one and done. We're
Yeah.
exposed to these things on a daily basis. So what are the steps that we do to prevent exposure from becoming a problem next time? That concept is built into the roadmap and post roadmap protocoling because one of the ways in which you prevent, let's say, reoccurring exposure to a parasite is one, if you have a healthy microbiome, they are the first defense. They make anti-parasitic ingredients. Secondly, when you have a robust immune system, they now fight off parasites. Now, I've seen a number of cases where people come from other countries and they have parasites, right? And yet, when they get here, they change their lifestyle, and now that parasite becomes a problem. Whereas before, their immune system was fighting it off very effectively. And that's happened over and over again, where when you change the environment, what was one time a very normal interaction in your ecosystem became a problem. And that happens quite often when we change our body. Everything around our body now changes its behavior. They're called pathobionts, by the way. They
Hmm.
live with us in a healthy way, but if you change your health, they become a pathogen. Yeah, that's why we have these types of things.
That's right. That's right. That's awesome. Wow. Like, this is an amazing subject. And today, with the time we have, we barely scratch the surface of it. But, and in a way, this is one of the reasons why we wanted to have this podcast is because a systemic formula, is hosting a whole deep dive into this subject. They have a workshop and called the Deep Cell Recode. And this is a workshop for practitioners only. Okay. We are going to drop the link to the workshop. So any of you that are listening, you're welcome to join Dr. Shayne along with Dr. Jack and also Amy Rolls and Matt Morosic. I hope that I pronounced correctly. Shayne, do you want to give us a little bit of additional data about this workshop and what's covered? And, I don't know if it is any requisite or any things that people should know about it.
Yes. So, like you mentioned, it is a deeper dive and it is very pragmatic and practitioner centric. So, what we're doing is we're not only giving you the general overview of our journey through the detoxification realm because we've been doing it for many many years and we're differentiating from other companies because detox has been really essentially abused from a marketing standpoint, not to pick on anybody in marketing, but it's a concept that take this 14-day liver cleanse and you're going to be fine. That really is not clinically valuable to either the clinician or the patient. Over the years, we've spent time building our first system, which was called the Deep Cellular Detox. And it very much is like the Holobiome, where we have a lot of nutrients, we take genetics into account, and it's very centered on detoxification. We're going to explain what that system is and why we developed that over the last decade. And then we're going to introduce to you the Holobiome concept so that we layer onto this. Why did we change? Why did we then move into what we call the Holobiome Roadmap? What was our reasoning? What was the clinical reasoning and the evidence? And you're going to see a little bit of, I'm going to do more of an overview at this seminar and give people some background and a lot of the research that went behind the scenes. And yet, when we bring in Jack, he's going to bring in a clinician's angle, and Amy as well, and she's going to dive deeper into the clinical benefits of what's in the Holobiome Roadmap as different from anybody else in the industry. I mean, globally at the moment, although there's a lot of work on the microbiome, so we're trying to stay ahead of that. And then Matt is going to bring in the business approach. How is it that when you take these systems as a clinician, how can you turn that into your system at your clinic? Whether you're a digital clinic or a brick and mortar, the system, he's going to give you techniques and the tools to introduce this roadmap efficiently and effectively as a practitioner, and using all of what we've learned over the last few decades, how to do that. And we've seen some really great success, by the way, with some practitioners. I mean, we've had practitioners that were initially skeptical of systems, and they've turned this system into, not to use numbers, but there's been a few practitioners that have turned it into multi-million-dollar practices using systems, which allows them to then get to people's core issues much more quickly when they begin with a system, as opposed to trial and error that other protocols might be doing. And so Matt's going to bring to this the practical approach of using it in your clinic, and how to not only sell it, how to manage it, and how to monetize using. And he's created some good tools. And Amy will get into a lot of the keystone that we talked about. Mm-hmm. What they do for us. Some organisms actually make dopamine, which make us excited. And we always thought that was our body, but turns out it's not just our body. Our organisms, are really dictating things like our weight. GLP-1 is related to the microbiome. And we won't do that this weekend, but that is a real thing. So it's going to be exciting. Amy has an amazing presentation. Of all of them, I think mine, but I'm excited to do it because they've done a phenomenal job. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And I want to remind all of you to use the code is the health, is HEALTH in caps. So you can use the code to get a discount to the workshop. If you are watching as a replay, if you're not here live, please, we're going to drop the link below on the video, and use the discount code, and you have a special access as a thank you for being here and watching the video and be part of our community. So great. Well, I think let's see if there is any other question from the chat. Somebody's asking, what if you don't have a doctor? Is there a consumer version that is sort of, I mean, this training obviously is going to be B2B for practitioners, but is there also a version that is for B2C kind of a version, or not yet?
So there is not a version B2C. It is a simple system that can be used B2C, but as we do the majority of our work through B2B.
Yeah.
Now, if there are people that come in, we also have the capability of assigning patients to doctors. So when we do receive a request, we can align those things at our
so
at
you,
our
you
level
can
as
route
well.
too.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Excellent. So let's see. I think that's all. Anything else, Shayne? Anything before we end
No,
off?
just spread the word. Anybody that was on here, tell your colleagues. The more the merrier. We enjoy presenting, and we have a great team. And like I said, it really is revolutionary, and we're excited to talk more about it.
That's awesome. Great. Well, Shayne, it's always a pleasure. Thank you, and
Yep,
thank you for all of our people. Thank you for your time. We know that all our practitioners are busy, and your time is super, super valuable. So anyway, so thank you. And for anyone watching this replay and on YouTube or whatever that's going to be, appreciate if you can please sign up on the channel. I mean, we always have interesting podcasts like this that we're always publishing. So sign up, click the little bell button, so you're going to get notifications. Give us thumbs up. It's going to help to spread the word. And and thank you, and see you next time. Shayne, thank you.
Thanks.
And
See ya.
hope to speak with you soon. Okay.